Hi everyone, I want to do this little video about the other addiction besides poor eating habits and the lack of exercise that people are talking about. What is that other addiction? Because we know that the poor eating habits, the lack of exercise is a big deal. And I'm going to go into them right now, but also about the other addiction besides those that's really causing a lot of havoc in our health, lowering our self-esteem, causing higher levels of depression, actually causing more body fat, and an increased risk of disease. So we'll get into that. So let's take a look at it. Top causes of poor energy, higher fat percentage, and a lack of joy or, like depression in our life are one, yes, poor food choices, mainly processed foods. Two, lack of exercise. And the new one, excessive consumption of scrolling, Netflix, TV, and so on. So I'm going to go through a study on each of these really quick with you to see why these are the top three. Poor food choices. And the reason I bring this one up is there's a study out now that talks about processed, ultra processed foods. And what they showed is in the study, and you're able to look it up there, it's a PubMed study, is that the more processed foods you eat, the higher body fat percentage, even if you eat the same calories as before or someone else that has whole foods. Now, that's something that's new. It used to be that we believed a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. But innately, we knew that wasn't true, right? Innately, we knew that the more processed the foods are, the worse they are for us. And that's true. So, although we can have some people lose weight on just any type of food as long as they're in a caloric deficit, we know now that you actually can have more inflammation, which adds weight. We know that you have a higher risk of disease because of processed foods, that over 80 diseases you have an increased risk for, and that you lower your risk of disease by over 30% by just going off processed foods. So, number one, poor food choices, mainly high processed foods. Get off the processed foods. Instead of the French fries or the fried chips, you have potato, okay? Or best case scenario, you're having just that fresh potato, just steamed, whatever it might be. But if you're going to have something besides that, try to go to the least processed as possible, to where they're potato chips that are made by cutting the potato up and putting in your air fryer, things like that, okay? Cut the processing out. Number two, lack of exercise. This study here on lack of exercise was really interesting. It showed over 35 diseases that we actually have an increased risk for, independent of every other factor. In other words, that only inactivity was the cause of major diseases today: cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, independent of everything else. So we know a lack of exercise isn't just like this small part of it, it's a huge part of it. And if you're not moving, what does that mean? That means at least 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day of either aerobic exercise or strength training. The ultimate is aerobic exercise, 30 minutes each day, whether it's a brisk walk or HIIT training, and strength training at least 3 times a week. And so that is what I mean by exercise. If you're not doing that, your risk of disease, your ability to put body fat on, your loss of cognitive function, in other words, not being able to have as good a memory as we get older, all of that, we have problems with if we're not exercising. And now the third one, excessive consumption of scrolling, Netflix, so on. There's a study out, National Institute of Health, absolutely interesting, showed that mindless activity gives us temporary pleasure, like social media scrolling, Netflix streaming, excessive daily TV watching, constant watching of shows on phone during the day instead of focusing on personal goals. Any activity that gives temporary pleasure, right, but gives no benefit long term. If done daily, some things will give us benefit long term. If we're reading a book, or we're watching some type of a show that's teaching us something that we actually have data points, and others we have to accomplish different things as we go through it. So why is it so bad? Well, what's happening when we're doing this scrolling or this mindless watching of things, of shows, or it's mainly a big part of it's now the phones, just scrolling, and just, when really we could be doing something productive and we're thinking it's productive. It's really not. What we're doing is we're frying our dopamine receptors and creating dependency on this connection. So when attempted to be removed, so someone comes, I don't think you should be scrolling as much on your computer. Depression sets in at a higher level, and you cling to that addiction. You get angry at those that try to help you. You ever been that way? If someone's actually trying to reach out and say, hey, I don't know if you should be, on the phone that much. Take a look at this. It says you're on this thing hours and hours every day. What are you doing? Is it a part of your work, or are you just scrolling? And there's a big difference. And I have a lot of people that are influencers, and they say, well, this is my job. I post and do all that. Well, then post, do the work. Don't just be scrolling. You're scrolling, you're scrolling. And, or are you doing some quick research? You're taking notes, and this person did this, and then you make your own. There's a big difference, and you know what it is. A lot of times what they found from this study is that people make excuses, and they get angry just so that they'll be able to go back to that and not have to change those habits. And the consistency and the amount of time is what creates the poison. Now, this is something in the organic chemistry world that's really big that we always say is that the amount of something determines whether it's healthy or a poison or not, right? So if you have a heart attack and you give a little bit of arsenic, you might save their life. But if you take it normally in a larger amount, it'll kill you. So the neurotransmitter issue is why you can't focus, you can't sleep, you lose motivation and struggle to be present. Study on this showed that scrolling and that causes this neurotransmitter disruption that makes it so that you don't get into REM sleep, good sleep recovery. And so that messes with your mind and your focus and your ability just to enjoy life. And you maybe hear about moderation in all things, but that truly isn't the case. Nothing succeeds at the highest level like excess. And this holds true for good habits, creating great joy and success consistently. And it also holds true for bad habits, like excessive mind-numbing activities that creates depression and, all these problems. And it's the consistency of the excess. And you can excessively focus on eating healthy, and you're going to be the healthiest. Now, do you want to do that? You want to never have a treat meal on that? Most people want to have a treat meal here and there, but you need that excess to achieve at the highest level. And you need to look at that really moderation in all things isn't necessarily the case. If you want to be the best at something, you want to have the best health and the best energy and vitality, you want to be the best at a work, at a job, to earn certain money or to whatever it might be, you need to have excess because the world lives at a moderation. And no one stands out. So you need excess, but only on things that promote healthy habits, things that get you to your goals. So if you enjoy scrolling social media or watching TV a lot, do as the Stoics taught. And remember, you can stay happy as long as there are no corresponding pains. You have to be able to see or be open to be shown when there is too much time being spent on these things. So it's sad that the wise man drinks a little to attain pleasure, but not so much as he will cause himself pain, hangover, right? And so if you can govern yourself, or be accountable to a coach, you can drink or scroll a little bit. But if you're an alcoholic, then you need to stay completely away and focus on your goals. That makes sense. So an alcoholic should stay away from a bar, or someone that is an alcoholic that can control themselves. They might go once in a while. And it goes back to the wise man drinks a little to attain pleasure, but not so much as it will cause himself pain. Bottom line, research and life examples show that if you can govern yourself or be accountable to a coach, you can drink like scrolling a little. But if you're an alcoholic, in other words, a person that scrolls all the time, then you need to stay completely away and focus in on your goals, on your specific goals, and do those activities and those habits instead. So ask yourself that question. And if you've scrolled too much and you'd like a coach to help you lose some fat, gain muscle, DM us, message us. We would love to help get on a free consultation with you to see if one of our professional nutritionists or trainers or coaches can help you be able to reach your goals, especially in the physical fitness area of nutrition, reducing body fat, exercise, energy levels, and those things. We'd love to help you out. Hope these 3 tips help you in your quest for optimal health. Keep chewing.